Before we get started, I just wanted to say that I have a new template up on my Patreon. It is of the magical cave from my last video. So if you're interested in that or other templates, please check it out. If you're interested in any of those or just want to show me a little support, head over there. The link will be down below. I'm so excited to make today's video. It's the holidays and I'm feeling a little lazy. I don't want to come up with something original. I want to just stick to something that I know. So I'm going to make a scene from a movie that I love. So I'm going to make the lost city of Atlantis with the waterfalls and the statues and the lava, and I think it's going to be really pretty. And to spice things up a bit, I'm going to color this light box. I have done this before, I think twice, and they didn't turn out super great because I'm not the best at painting or coloring. Will I be able to make that look good? We will see. But yeah, without further ado, let's jump right in. I'm super excited. When I started the project, I got all of my materials ready. I got some cardstock, some pencils, and my knife, and I started sketching out the light box. So here I have the sketch, and I'm going to start working on the project. First layer I worked on was the background, and I wanted to make this out of sketching paper so it's thin and it lets a lot of light through. So I got the sketching paper, cut out a hole on the bottom to let even more light through, and started planning out the background. This was my inspiration picture, and I used some watercolor paint to paint all of my paper blue. I used different shades of blue, some lighter blue, darker blue, and build up some shadows. I started by painting all of the base paper a light shade of blue. Then another sheet of paper is painted a darker blue, and I will glue this on as shading. I use these extra pieces to build up and define the shape of the mountains. I add some extra details with some colored pencils. I use different shades of blue to add even more shadows and highlights. I also glue some of these same shading pieces onto the backside to create even more shading in different areas. And with that, the background is done. Up next is the clouds, and I'm using more sketching paper because again it's thinner. And again, I paint these a base shade of blue and then add a second layer of darker blue for some shading. And then I went and with some colored pencils I added even more shading around in different areas. The rest of these layers are cut on cardstock, so I planned out the rest of the city layers, and my cat was in the way, like usual. He's very cute. I cut out the shape of the rocks, and all of the water will be tracing paper painted teal. So I'm cutting out all of the sections except the rocks. And I wanted to use this baking paper, but the paint didn't stick at all. So I used this tracing paper that's very plasticky, and it took a lot of work, but it kind of stayed. And I colored all of my tracing paper the teal color because it really stands out and it looks like the water. I'm really happy with how this technique turned out. I glued them in place in between the rocks. And for all of these rock areas, I went over with a light shade of purpley blue, added some shadows. Then to add even more shading, I colored some cardstock a dark purple blue and a greenish blue. This greenish blue will be vegetation and the purplish blue will be more shading. So I cut a bunch of leafy shapes out of the greenish blue. And deep shading out of the other blue and glued them onto all of the rock areas. Then I went back with some pencils and added even more details, and I cut some lines in with my knife. So I finished all of the coloring on this first layer and I like how it turned out. So now I have to do everything that I did on here, copy it onto all of my other layers and hope it turns out good. I continued doing the same thing on all of these extra layers. My cat started messing with my work, so he had to be forcibly removed. I wanted the areas in the statue's chest and eyes to glow, so I cut those out and I'm gluing tracing paper over the holes to make them really stand out. I continue working, going layer by layer, adding more cardstock, foam board, and details. I wanted to add details to the waterfall, So I took some white sketching paper and I created these ripples like the water is flowing, and I think it really helps add some more details. A few of the layers had to be half cloud, half water, so these were a little bit tricky to figure out, but eventually I got it to work. It was really fun adding all of these tiny little details, all of these little rocks. They were tedious, but I really enjoyed doing it. I love the amount of detail that it adds. And lastly, I cut some more details into the waterfalls, and now it's time to assemble. To assemble, I used 1/2 inch thick foam board and I cut 1/4 inch strips. Then I glued them along the backside of my layers and stacked them. Here's the finished light box. I think it's gonna look really cool. I'm gonna light it up with a white LED because I want the colors to shine through. So I have my phone flashlight here. But I can already tell that it's gonna look great. Here is the finished light box. I am so happy with it. I used a blue light instead of a white one, and it just looks so amazing. I love how it looks lit up. I'm really happy with this, and I think it turned out really great. Let me know what you guys think. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!